Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. Where am I at here? There we are. Thursday, October the 26th, 2023. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. Glad you could join us today. Hope you're doing well out there. It's a warm one here. I thought we had moved... Oh, wait, I'm not hearing Mr. Black on my headphones. One moment while I figure out why that might be. Oh, Lord, you really gonna do this to me right now? Is that happening? One sec. Uno momento. I have to figure out if it's on my end or not. It probably is. Okay. Mr. Black is restarting Discord, and I am going to take a look at my end. I have no idea why. Oh, hold on. Why is that set? Let me try that. Oh, that's not good. You're hearing me though, eh? Yeah, so Jeff's hearing me, but I'm not hearing him, and I have that set to my... what should be getting audio, but isn't. Why? Why? Well, but now. There we go. I think I hear him now.
Test. There
we go. Yeah, I hear you now.
All right.
Yeah, okay, we got you. Okay, one of the perils of hashtag Elgato Nada hashtag ad sound capture for doing reviews is that they require you route your entire audio bus through their software. And let me tell you how stable that software is.
It isn't.
Stable like me standing on one leg after doing a 16-hour stream in a chair. Which is to say, not very. But anyway, we got it sorted out. That could have been worse. Oh, wait a minute. I got one more light I can plug in here, and... there we go. Another Technical Alpha podcast. For God's sake. Another Technical Alpha podcast. Glad you could join us today. And as I was saying, warm one today. I thought we had properly entered into fall. The last couple of days I got up, I'm taking Em to work or picking her up. I go outside. One morning, it was 2 degrees.
Yeah,
I walked out the door and I was like, fucking calm down.
It was cold.
It was cold. It was enough I had to scrape the windshield for the first time. For the year on that one. And now here we are. It's 22 degrees outside and I am cooking in this room. And unfortunately it lines up where it's an M working a night shift, which means I have to have my door closed doing this podcast so that I don't wake her up upstairs. And so I'm just going to be, if I start glistening like a Christmas ham, that's why.
That's why?
That would be why. But we got another great show lined up for you today, of course, as always. But before we get started, Mr. Black, not to interrupt you, what's probably a $650 million deal on your cell phone right now, but how was your week?
My week is good, and no, it's just my accountant just messaged me something that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a week. Played a lot of StarCraft this week.
I saw that.
StarCraft this week.
I saw that.
Yeah. So I've been playing some StarCraft. The reason is because TwitchCon's been going on, and because TwitchCon's on, the majority of the people that are in NoPixel are at TwitchCon.
Oh,
so the server's dead.
Right.
Like there's fucking nothing going on.
Yeah, that's true.
So instead of me doing nothing, I said, yeah, fuck it, I'll play some StarCraft, and we can do simulcast now. So I was like, all right, I'll go on Leg TV. People enjoyed when I did that shit before, and it's been fun. I've actually been I've been enjoying StarCraft. Do I want to play the thing full time forever and a day?
No.
But I'm enjoying it for what it is right now, and yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I've put in.
Yeah, you've been playing long days. You had like 10-hour StarCraft rip and stuff, and I was like, my God, what the fuck? What year is it? What's going on over there?
Exactly.
And but it's clearly been a long time since he's played. If he's playing 10 hours in a single session.
Yes. So yeah, it's been fun. I'm almost done here, by the way. It's been fun, and I will be playing again tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But that's been pretty much my week. Like, I've just been playing StarCraft. Literally waking up. If I have the gym in the morning, I'll go to the gym, come home, StarCraft. That's been the show. It's been the show. Which, you know, it's been a lot of people have been saying it's nostalgic, and they've been enjoying it and stuff like that. But it's been like pretty nostalgic for me too, because I've been seeing like a lot of faces that I haven't seen in
a long time,
5-6 years. And it kind of takes me back to my roots as well. So I've been enjoying it, and we'll see how long it lasts. But that's been my week. For now, it's going well, which is wondrous. Yeah. I figure, I was, how did I describe it? I think the way that I described it the other day, which is funny because I think I just used this analogy also just a couple days previous to describe my relationship with Tuna, the neighbor's cat. Where I spend, my peace moment is, if Tuna's out there, I have my coffee, or not my coffee, but my drink in the morning. I go sit out on my front step, get like vitamin D for whatever, 20 minutes, and pretend that I was outside for any period of time. And Tuna's there, she's my company, we hang out. She gets a little snack. She gets like 5 fucking kibble in a bowl. We chill. It's whatever. And people were like, "Why don't you just get your own cat?" And I said, "Well, listen. Right now, Tuna, it's like having a grandchild. Okay? You can enjoy the grandchild all you want. You can spoil them rotten. You have lots of fun. And as soon as they turn into a little shit, you can hand them right back over to their parents and pretend that they don't exist. That." Is where I'm at with Tuna right now. It's perfect. She comes to the house occasionally accidentally. She'll walk around, she gets bored, she'll walk back out the fucking house again. But I don't have to have like, I don't have like litter boxes. I don't have to worry about her scratching my furniture to shit. I don't need to worry about hair all over the place. She is exclusively outside somebody else's problem. I feed her occasionally as a little snack thing there and there, but like, it's like, I get like one little container lasts me like 2 months worth of like her showing up on my doorstep. Literally perfect. And so I, when somebody was talking to me about you play StarCraft again, I said, you know what this is going to be like right now? Because he doesn't have to play it anymore. It's like having a grandchild. Same analogy. StarCraft's a grandchild. You can play with it, you can enjoy it, spoil it rotten, and then as soon as it starts being a pain in your fucking ass, send it off into the sun. See you in 5 years.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm glad it's been going well. You've been having fun with it. That's always good. My week was just another week, nothing fancy over here. I moved off from Starfield. I posted the review for that. Mark got that video sorted, so that's been up. And now I moved on to, or continue to play Cyberpunk 2077. And that's been, you know what? That's a fucking good video game now. It was dog shit when it first came out. It was so broken. And only a handful of people got to play it all the way to the end without having like a hard time when it first came out. And it was a big fiasco. We covered it on the podcast for ages. Those fucking bright yellow stupid update cards on Twitter and shit. But I gotta hand it to them. It took them like 3 years. But this 2.0 update in tandem with the Phantom Liberty expansion that they released, which is the last of the expansions, as we talked about before, it was supposed to have 2 originally, now it's just this one. I gotta say, it's a really enjoyable game. I've been having a really good time with it. It's been a game where I've actually, when I turn it on, I haven't been like, fuck. I've got I'm looking at my phone every 5 minutes, be like, all right, I've been playing it for half an hour, 1 hour. 1 hour 30. Whenever, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm actually just enjoying the game. And that's, that's not a common experience these days for my old jaded ass. No. So I gotta give him props. It looks good. It runs much better than it did. And more importantly, so when the game first came out, it was obviously busted to fuck. But what you could tell, which is, when I played it originally, 20 hours at launch, the story is good. The characters are good. All that's there. Voice acting was fantastic. Writing was really well done. All that was there. The problem was all the other bullshit was getting in the way. You couldn't enjoy it. You couldn't get any fun out of it. And the combat was a bit of a fucking mess and overly convoluted, upgrading systems and everything. All that's toasted. All that's done and out of the way now. So improvements have been made. Streamlining has come through for the gameplay side of things, for combat and whatnot. I've had the only bugs that you see are the ones you'd see in GTA, for example, when you're driving around and an NPC in a car all of a sudden does some crazy shit, or a car fucking gets physics weird or some stuff once in a while, the stuff that you see in every open world city-based fucking video game. And I don't even see that much of that. And that's about it, really. I've had one crashed desktop in 70 hours of gameplay. And so I've been enjoying it. I think it's really good. And I'll be reviewing it as well. Just like, but for, on the other side of it, I played Baldur's Gate 3 and went into Starfield, and then I was looking back at Baldur's Gate 3 with the talking with characters interaction, which is what you predominantly do in Starfield and Baldur's Gate, is a lot of talking. And I was like, Jesus God, Starfield looks like fucking just ass in comparison. It's just so bad. And then I move on to Cyberpunk, and I'm reminded all over again, but in a different way. I'm like, oh my God, I can move freely around in a lot of scenes. I can just, an entire scene could be going on, and I could just be like, fuck. And it doesn't, but when you look back, it's they're in full motion, full body capture type shit. Facial animations are a million times better. The voice acting is amazing. They interact with things with the environment. What I like about it too, you can interrupt them. They could be in the middle of a conversation. You'll have options sometimes. Some shit will pop up, and you can cut them off and jump in and shit. All of that adds up to making it feel like you're actually part of the scene and not just sitting back and waiting for your option to pop up and be like, yes, yeah, no. Yes. No. So it's been really good. So anyway, I played that all week. I'm pretty close to the end of it. But I've been doing a lot of side content on it and whatnot. Probably be another few days and then I'll be done and I'll review it. But I can say without the review, if you were interested in it before, or you played it before and you were you had a bad experience because you were on a console or your PC was just fucking dying or something at the time, it's going to be, if you were interested, it's going to be worth playing now. It's 100%. In fact, if this game came out this year, it didn't have all the bullshit, it would be in my game of the year running. It wouldn't beat Baldur's Gate, but it would be in the short list of nominations, almost certainly. So, played that. That was my entire week, really. That's it.
I also went out and bought I bought my first video game in a long time.
Alan Wake 2?
No.
Okay,
that's coming though.
That is coming. Yeah.
Next week, I'm playing the fuck out of that. I think a game comes out tomorrow, but I'm gonna wait until next week because I'm gonna do it on Halloween. So it'll probably take me 2 days to beat it because I'll just play 8 hours and then 8 hours.
It's not a long game anyway. Yeah.
I doubt it. It'll probably be a 12-hour game or some shit, 10 hours. But I bought Super Mario Wonder.
Oh shit, that's a hot pickup too.
That's a fucking fire game, bro.
It is a good game.
That game's a good fucking game.
It's a good video game, if you know what I mean. It's a video game.
It reminds me, and I'm not streaming it, just me and my son. We're just playing it. It's just him and I. And
fantastic.
We get in about, an hour, 2 hours. He starts to, his attention span only lasts,
of course,
2 hours tops, right?
Yeah.
But we're a decent way in. I'd probably say we're probably 25-30% in. It's basically Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo, but new, in Nintendo Switch form. So just like in that game, you've got your map, you kind of walk around to each, it gives you a trail and you go and there's hidden spots and it's just like that. It looks cooler because it's all in 3D and it does what Mario does, but it's a full blown side scroller Just like you at the end, you jump, you hit the fucking, the flag
the
there
flag
at the
pole.
end. The higher you get,
yeah.
Instead of collecting stars, you collect seeds. But yeah, it's a fun game. And it's expensive, man. It was like $100, but
in
I guess
Canada, that's where you're at now.
Yeah, I guess just where the games are. A little bit too tough for Kai to play. Even though it's E for everyone, it's a platformer. Like you can fall down, and die. You know what I mean? Like
I thought it had a mode where it basically has bumper rails where dying is like not even a thing. I'm almost positive. Look into that.
I'll look into that, because if that's the case, then Kyle will be able to play it. He can just kind of go around and do his thing, which is really cool. So I'll look at that. But
yeah,
game's a lot of fun. I'm having a good time playing it. It's the first game that Kai and I kind of like playing together. So it's got a little bit of extra oomph for me. And one thing that I will say, Nintendo, they made this game, and it's a full, complete, no buggy, no bullshit, no alpha, no beta, no patches, no nothing. Just the game.
Yep.
You buy it,
yep.
You stick it in the Switch,
yep.
And it runs like butter.
Yes.
The whole thing does what the whole thing does. There ain't no bullshit attached, no nothing. And I will say, I don't buy many video games, but man, it is fucking nice to not have to download shit, change drivers, fucking wait for patches here and there. Fucking, okay, I bought it, but I'll play it in 3 months when the game's not broken. It's go, that's the show, have fun. And there's something nice about that. It's refreshing. It's just refreshing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So,
fantastic.
Nintendo, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, they gouge you. They're expensive, but you know what? You get something complete. You go in there. It's like going to a nice restaurant that's your old faithful. That, it's a bit on the expensive side. It might cost you $50-$60 a person for the meal, but you know what you're getting. You never have to send it back. You ask for a medium rare steak, they give you a medium rare steak. It ain't medium. Then you got to wait 30 minutes to get another one, but your better half has already done their food because theirs was fine. The fries ain't cold. Everything is what you get and what you pay for. So that extra bit of money and that consistency, worth it. Oh, worth it. So worth.
That's a great analogy, and it's also like part in the discussion around like you mentioned, the cost of it, right? Like it's 70 games are now like the 69 in the States, $70. Which means they're 89 here.
$79.99 or 89. Yeah,
it's 89 here. Yeah, because the dollar's fucked. So it's $89. So and then you get taxed, so it's $103 in Canada for a brand new AAA whatever video game. And you're spending half the cost of like half to a third of the cost of the goddamn console for the video game. Which again, lots of games you're going to get 20, 30, 40 hours of gameplay out of. That's worth that amount of money. But there's a stark contrast between a game that charges $89.99 or $70 US that comes out that requires a 50 gig patch on day one, and it's still a broken bullshit. It brings it up. There's 14 different terms of service fucking scripts that come up on screen. You got to hold the button to scroll. You can't even just skip it anymore.
You can't even just you got to scroll it down, bro. And the fucking thing is annoying as shit, and it's small. You can't You're trying to click on it. You're dragging it down. The whole thing is fucked, Adam. The whole thing is fucked.
And then they hit you with the first screen is a battle pass or a DLC that's come before you even hit the start menu.
Oh, bro. I turned on Mario and it was like 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player. Choose it, click it, choose your character, because you can choose so many different characters to play the game. Choose your character, game starts. You're off to the races.
Yeah.
I will say, a gripe that I got to say about Nintendo. Their Joy-Con sticks are ass. Okay.
Oh, their controllers are goddamn terrible.
They break so fucking quick. Like it's the
you have to have this.
Yes. Well, so anyway, Kai's been using the Switch for a while, and Kai and Caleb play Pokemon and different shit. Minecraft. Yeah. Kai loves Minecraft, but they've been bitching about the the analog stick. And I remember I played, Kai wanted me to get through a part for him, so I was playing something different game.
Was it drifting on you?
And it was drifting. It was drifting. So I said, okay, you know what? When I go get Mario, I'm gonna go get another Joy-Con stick. $99.99.
Yep.
Adam.
Yep.
100
for a controller.
For a fucking controller, bro. $99.99. It got to the point where I sat in Best Buy for 15 minutes and I looked at and I was convincing myself, and the only reason why I didn't do this is because there's going to be a new Switch coming. I almost bought an OLED Switch. I was like, you know what?
If I'm going in
it's
$100
$100 for this. It's $399 or whatever it was for the OLED Switch. And, you know, they had a package with Mario Kart, and Kai's been wanting it for Christmas. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just fucking get this bundle. I'll save the Mario Kart for Christmas. I'll get my own Switch. Kai can have the old Switch. I already get a new Joy-Con sticks because it comes damn thing. But then I was like, you know what? With my fucking luck, these motherfuckers will announce the next Nintendo Switch come next month or whatever, and then I'll be pissed off that I went and bought this shit. So I said, you know what? Fine. I'll buy the damn Joy-Con and the game, and that right there was like $225 for them two fucking items. And I'm like, Jesus H. Christ. But the game works.
Yes.
Works right out the box.
Yes.
We're having fun.
Oh, yeah.
And so my frustration was very shortly lived. And then I realized, like you said, I didn't have to download anything. I didn't have to get no drivers. I didn't have to fuck around and find out. I just put the game on and it played. So
that's the magic. That's the magic. And that's what it should be like in the vast majority of cases. Yes. when you're asking somebody to spend. That's like, there's no parity it's kind of like with movies. You have to look at it the same way. There's no tier list for movies, right? Every movie is going to cost you, except unless you go into like IMAX or D-Box, which is like a theater specific situation. Yes. But a movie ticket costs you a movie ticket. You go to the theater and there's multiple movies playing, and if they're all on the smaller screens, they all cost the same amount of money. And now you have to make a value judgment, because not all movies are created equal. You're going to get a lot more value out of some movies than others for the same amount of money. The same thing goes with games. You can get a game that costs fucking $90 and it's absolute unrepentant ass, and then you can buy a Nintendo game for the same amount of money and it's a Game of the Year contender. Those are two very different situations. It's part of why I still believe in the value of game reviewers, although game reviewers' quality has been severely fucking lacking in probably the last 20 years for a number of reasons, and some of it's not really their fault. Like, for example, the publishers giving them a game 3 days before the fucking game comes out, and they got to hit embargo, and it's a 90-hour game. You're like, okay.
Yeah, and they just got to, like, fucking skim through it. And yeah. No, I get it.
So, like, it's difficult, but it's still, the value is very, and for, like, YouTube, not from a Let's Play perspective, but, like, from the perspective of, like, usually right now on YouTube, a big thing is longer form, 30, 50-minute videos of people saying, 100 hours later, my Starfield experience, or like 500 hours later or some shit. And those videos are like really, really fucking useful for people who don't feel the need to buy the game day one. Right away. And now you can get a value judgment on the game based on stuff like that, and that's very, very, very important as games get bigger and the expense keeps going up. So I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying it. It is a Game of the Year contender. It's shortlisted. I think it's in the top 10 or top 5 for highest Metacritic ratings for the year, that game. And so it's doing real well. And no big surprise. It's Sidescrolling Mario. They have that shit tuned so fucking hard, bro. It would be shocking if it wasn't incredible.
It's actually impressive. Some of the stuff they do in this game. It's actually impressive. Like, some
of the new abilities and stuff are really cool, right? Yeah.
Wow, it's fucking cool. And they took all the old shit and they just it's so nostalgic. I'm playing it and it feels like I'm a child again, but it's just cooler. Like, it's
like
crazy.
It's like I said earlier, it's a video, I put in quotation marks, but it's a video game, right? It's a game. You play Cyberpunk, I don't really consider that a game. I consider it interactive entertainment.
It's an experience. Yeah,
right?
It's an experience.
There's interactive entertainment, and then there's games. Like, Mario is a fucking video game.
Yeah, it's a platformer.
Right? It's a different thing.
You don't really care about the story all that much. They give you, it's like, it's such a simple Same old same. Oh,
music's probably fire.
Princess or whatever. Oh my god, everything is fire, dude. It's fire. When I'm done with it, you have a Switch, right? You can just fucking go fucking play it. You're gonna like it. It's dope.
Oh, man, if I'm getting it for $0 to try it, I'll play it all day.
Yeah, you can just keep it until you're done.
Because it's $100 otherwise, and I literally can't justify spending $100 on Mario right now. But it's doing real well, and that's actually going to be part of tangentially related to some of our discussion in a piece today, because there's not a lot of news this week.
Well, there's a segue, Adam. Let's get into it.
So segue is, I'll skip everything else in the list, and we'll just go down to it, and I'll backpedal for the rest of it. So, it feels like, and this comes with some news this week out of Microsoft's camp, so it feels like Microsoft is setting some unrealistic expectations for its gaming division, and to some degree have admitted defeat in regards to this, as Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella's pay targets, meaning, if you don't know what pay target is, so it's like, a CEO is going to have various forms of compensation, and some of them are performance-based, for example, so that's kind of what this is referencing. So for his pay targets, they no longer include, for the first time since basically Game Pass became a growth market for them, or a thing that they were focused on, is not part of his milestone for his targets anymore. Which he himself plus the board can decide. So it's kind of like deciding your own pay targets, but it's no longer a part anymore. And some of that is likely because it's missed its window pretty hard a couple of years in a row now. But here's the thing. That sounds really bad, but then you look at the actual numbers and that's why I'm posing this question, if they're just getting too high. So just taking this consideration, however, this sounds like wild, but for him, 10% of his entire performance compensation was around the entire Xbox division. So of that, a small portion was Game Pass, or the majority of it would have been Game Pass, I'm sure. But so this is not, it's not affecting his pay that much. That being said, they had targeted for last year, they wanted 73% growth year on year, which is fucking high. I mean, that's a lot of growth for a service like that, right? Like, no matter what you do, no matter how good of a value that is, the assumption that you're going to hit 73%.
That's like Netflix going, you know what? Next year, 73% more than what we have.
Doubling your user base almost in a fucking year? Like, what the fuck? Like, and this isn't like it's his first year. This is the Game Pass's, like, what, third year or some shit? So, like, what are you doing? They hit, you know what the real target, or what they actually hit was 28%, which is pretty fucking good.
That's good. That's not bad.
You can say we almost went up by a third in a single year. That's pretty fucking good. Especially given, like, people's spending on entertainment is not as high as it was in 2020. So, like, you're going in a pretty steady upwards direction. So it seems like that might be the case. And there's also an interesting point of this is that Satya also mentioned that they will be doubling down on converting to primarily a games publisher over time, now that the Activision Blizzard King deal has gone through, which is very interesting. Now, we do know that they're making the next Xbox is a thing. It's on a fucking sheet somewhere, 2028 roughly. But you now know, not that you couldn't have already figured it out, they wanted to be doing more publishing than just relying on hardware, because now they have Game Pass and all these various streaming platforms, so publishing side will become way more lucrative for them than hardware side will. And in fact, in their latest release as well, their software side and streaming side went up, their hardware side went down, and yet that swing was still favorable year on year for the division. So with that being said, I'm wondering if to some degree they're killing themselves with their own publicly announced targets and having to adjust in ways that they might not had to have if they had been more reasonable in their publicly stated expectations for shareholders. Because a lot of the problem is a lot of this was stuff that is both publicly known, but also for shareholders' sake, they go to the shareholders and they say, okay, guys, these are our targets for the year. We're targeting this much growth in this sector, this much growth in that sector, et cetera, because the shareholders are going, if you don't get me my fucking 11%, I'm gonna wring your fucking scrawny neck, nerd. Get back in the fucking lab, bitch. Right? Everyone's fucking chomping at the bit.
Ain't no one making 11% this year, bro.
But that's what everyone wants, right? They want 11% on their fucking return, their whole portfolio, and it's got to be made. So, that's what leads to these crazy fucking projections. Like, so Microsoft comes out and says, well, we got to make them happy. How do we make them happy? Well, we give them some absolutely fucking insane number. Like, yeah, let's target 73% growth year on year for Game Pass. And then what happens when you do that? Well, now you pass that down to the Xbox division with Phil Spencer and crew, and they've got to look around and go, okay, how the fuck? So Phil wakes up with his cup of coffee in the morning, opens up an email, sees the number 73 and just about faints, and goes, okay, fuck, what are we gonna do about this, boys? We shit, fuck, buy Activision. And like that's how you end up in these situations, right? Because the only way that you get growth in something like Game Pass is have more games available to put on fucking Game Pass. And so you got to do crazy things like spend $68 billion on buying Activision Blizzard King, because you're not getting your games out, as it is right now to be able to float this thing, certainly not for 73%. So it becomes a problem. And we see what happens, the knock-on effects over time, just like with other things like, let's say, the UFC, good example. I'll bounce this off Mr. Black. As we saw with the UFC after their buyout happened, where that was what, a $4 billion deal or some shit at the time?
It was a big one.
Right, it was a big brand deal. And what did we immediately see afterwards? Well, the number of fights went through the goddamn roof. The number of belts on display through the roof. The number of interim fights that would just pop up out of fucking nowhere. It'd be like multi-divisional, cross-interim, fucking just like anything that they could to put on a poster to then sell a pay-per-view for $79 has and continues to happen consistently, and that only happened after this $4 billion buyout because they need to make back their fucking money and start making profit on their investment. And that's kind of where the games industry seems to be at right now. Even on a smaller level. You just seem to be setting too high targets for themselves, even as a developer, like Bethesda with Starfield. They wanted to go out and take their games that they're used to making like this one map, like Skyrim, right? One map, they can hand touch most of it, and the environmental team does a fucking killer job for Bethesda pretty much every time. Like, if there's one thing you can't say about Skyrim, is that the environmental artist failed, because it was probably the one thing that carried the fuck out of the whole game. Walking through the woods, seeing the fucking dragon for the first time, all these like set pieces they had, fucking incredible. The rest of the game you can argue, but that part not so much. But they take that into Starfield and they go, okay, what are we gonna do? Well, we need 16 times the detail. Todd Howard comes out.
Here goes Adam. He's going back on Starfield, bro. He's going in.
Well, it's just a recent example, but it's a really good example of this, because I'm in the middle of actually cutting a video right now based on a rant I did on the stream the other week, where it's about this topic specifically, which is part of why this came up, but also because I read about Microsoft. And my question, the question that's posed is, the discussion that you hear, what you hear from a lot of developers or publishers when they come out and speak publicly about the cost of games currently going up, like what you just discussed with Mario costing $100 fucking after tax, and the state of games at launch, and the moving into like almost an as a service kind of a situation to be able to make up for the fact that these games are fucking terrible at launch. They seem to always say similar things, and the similar thing is they say, well, it's just because it is what it is. There's no other option. You have to. People expect us to do all these crazy, big, bombastic things and chase these big, crazy targets. And if we do that, and we have to make sure that it appeals to a broad enough market so we can make our money back. And then you end up with these homogenous, broken, bullshit AAA experiences that cost us the same amount of money as Jeff's Mario game, that is a plug-and-play perfect game of the year contender right off the rip, because they're not trying to do everything for everyone and hit some crazy fucking target so that they can go to the investors and go, guys, don't worry, we're gonna have 16 times the detail, 4 times the size of the last map, 1,000 procedurally generated planets with bespoke hand-touched elements, and 250,000 lines of dialogue recorded. And then the game comes out, and it's a wet fart. And you're like, well, shit! Still cost me $90.
My vocal coach does a few characters in
In Starfield?
Starfield, yeah.
Because here's the I seriously, I can't even imagine being part of that. That's one of the scariest parts of the things that they talked about for Starfield was when he came out and said 250,000 recorded lines of dialogue. I said, word? That is a lot of dialogue. How do you get quality for 250,000 lines of recorded dialogue? And are you inflating that number in a weird way to make it sound more impressive? But what you look into and see, if you look at the list of people that did voiceover for that game, they're all fucking gods. They're pretty much all veterans in the industry, and some that are, extra the industry, meaning they're just great voice talent in general. But yet if you play the game, it sounds like they got them off Fiverr. Like the performance is goddamn terrible. And it's because the direction is bad, but it's not even necessarily the director's fault. Because Todd's sitting going, guys, we need 250,000 lines of dialogue. And you're like, well, how do I even begin to, like, from a project management perspective, get all of that done in any reasonable way? It was released before that apparently Bethesda has in the past recorded shit in like numerical or like alphabetical order. So, like, no context for, like, when you go in as a voice actor, you're like,
they just do whatever. Yeah.
Here's your line. You don't know who's talking, what's going on, but go have fun. And you go to Starfield, you listen to the performances, and they all sound like a flat line. There's very little it's because they don't know. They're in the booth and they got handed one of 250,000 lines. They're like, oh no, shit, here comes the aliens, guys, quickly, get to the back of the lodge. And like, ship it, done, next line, one down, 249,999 more to go. And so like, this all sounds like disjointed and crazy, but what I'm trying to just say is that it sounds like a self-fulfilling prophecy for AAA developers that use those excuses. Because they're choosing to do all this shit. Nobody's like we say here a million times on the podcast, what do gamers want? They want good games. And good sometimes means you don't get to, if you aren't capable of doing it, going out and telling your shareholders that you're going to pull off some crazy shit and then deliver the original release of Cyberpunk 2077. Which almost killed the company. Or Starfield, where they only talk about the fact that it's done big numbers on Game Pass. They don't want to talk about the trailing numbers on actual physical sales. Because if they did, then they'd show that the pre-orders were high, but then it started to fucking fall off the face of the earth because everyone's just going, why would I buy it? I'm just going to play it on Game Pass. And then they don't talk about retention. If they're not talking about it, it's probably not really fucking good. And so, my question is to you, Mr. Black. Do you feel like, does that sound like, and you can make the comparison to UFC where they've had to do similar crazy, bigger, and jump the shark over and over again? How many times do we hear, this is going to be the greatest title fight of all time? Francis Ngannou versus 6 bears inside the octagon. Like, well, all they can do. Does that sound like that's more of the problem than, let's say, putting the blame on the market for market's expectations? Do you think that seems more likely a scenario and why gaming is kind of in a fucking weird position right now?
Well, I don't think I don't think the whole issue is them projecting, at the time they might have thought like, fuck, we've got Starfield coming out. It's probably gonna, boost our shit. They embellished it a little bit to keep the shareholders happy. I mean, ultimately, it absolutely has something like that is part of themselves are part of the problem. But I also think that there are just unknowns as well that play a role. The economy, where we're at. People just don't have the funds this ain't 2020 or 2021 when we're in pandemic and everybody's at home and everybody's getting checks from the government and they can't leave their house to go spend the money. So they're going to spend it on entertainment in their home. They can spend more things. So perhaps they looked at the growth during COVID and they probably knew that, like, now that we're out of COVID, like the pandemic, I know COVID's still a thing before some fucking moron like, yeah, it's still real, man. People are out there still fucking dying. I get it. but you know what I'm saying. There's no,
yeah.
It isn't a pandemic, right? Everything ain't fucking closed.
From the economic impact part, it's different.
Correct, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, they might have been looking at COVID numbers and going, shit, we've doubled here. You know, we've doubled there. We got like 80% bump here. Yeah, it might be trickling down a little bit, but, you know, going from a double or from 90 down to 73, I mean, it seems kind of real. It seems whatever, but now we're in a fucking recession. You know, it's like the economy's garbage. People are losing jobs. Tech industry's getting fucked. Interest rates are high. You know, I think part of that also is things out of their control. They don't have a crystal ball. They can't really, but with that being said, they are also part of the problem. These lavish gaming experiences, you know, borderline straight up, like, dude, when you start hiring Idris Elba's and fucking, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio's, and you've got George R.R. Martin, and you're using these, and you're paying these people, God only fucking knows. They ain't doing this shit for free. So, you know, when you have to use star power, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having an Idris Elba in your game, or
no.
You know, but I'm using it as an example.
Yeah.
When you gotta have that bling and blam and whatever on the fucking cover, or these things on social media get people hyped. It's a hype machine, like you said. This is the best heavyweight title fight ever seen, and he said that 3 months ago, bro. Like, you know. At some point, you know, that shit works for so long until the consumer gets burned. And then they go, you know what? Fool me once is what George Bush once said. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me.
Oh no, shame on me. Okay,
you know,
I can't even remember how he fucked it up at this point.
He fucked it up, but he's just like, yeah, but fool me, you never fool me. Something. Yeah. And, you know, but that's the thing. You only can fake it till you make it for so long. And then at some point people get burned, and then they go, you know what, man, what the fuck? And I think also because of the economy and the way that inflation is, and how much more expensive games are, and just things in general, people are now more guarded with how they spend their money. Do I want to eat today? Do I want to put on the heat today? I need to fill up my car with gas today. Do I want to spend $100 to play Starfield? Some people, the answer is yes, absolutely. But there is a large chunk of people out there that are going, just let the game be great. Just let it be what you say it's going to be and have my money. But if it ain't, fuck you. I'm not giving you my money. Because you've got the Baldur's Gate, you've got the Alan Wakes, you've got the fucking whatever other games that are out there that people know, the Marios, where people know I'm going to spend this money and I'm going to get a product that I like. So, you know, I'm not giving the full blame on their ridiculous projections, because 73% year over. It's one thing. If Game Pass was in its second year, okay.
Yeah.
73, okay.
Yeah.
First year, okay, cool. Got a nice little lineup. Okay, second year. You're in your what, fourth year? Going on year 4, whatever? Bro, you 73%?
Calm down.
It ain't a pandemic anymore. People are poor. Shit's hard out there. You only can give $1 for 14-day trials for so long, bro. So, yeah. Anyway, we're beating a dead horse. Fuck around and find out. Make good games. Make Mario. You know what? Because at the end of the day, first off, shout outs to Edgar coming through. Appreciate the $25 super chat. You know, you want to know? I bought Mario. Like I said, great game. Out the box, good to go. You know what else is going to happen? They're going to release another Mario game, and guess who's going to go there day one, like I did before, and buy it? No questions asked. I don't need to wait for Adam's review. I don't need to go on Twitch and watch somebody playing, even though most people don't play because Nintendo will come at you anyway. But, like, let's be real here. But I know what I'm getting, so I'm going to go and buy it. I ain't go out and buy Starfield. I didn't go out and buy Cyberpunk 2077. The hype was real. It's my job. I can write the fucking thing off. I can make money from it. I still ain't buying this shit because I know that the game is a fucking hype machine and it's gonna be a broken pile of ass. Like 99% of the shit that comes out these days. Will the game be playable in a year, 2 years? I'm sure it will be. I'm sure Starfield is going to be fucking amazing in another 18 months. Until then, suck it. You ain't getting my money. And that's it.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we just mentioned Alan Wake briefly before, and also in the middle of Mr. Black talking about that, but just to put a finer point on it, reviewing very well right now, sitting around a 90 on Metacritic last I checked, doing good numbers, and some are saying probably the best horror game that's been produced in a very long time. And most creative horror game to be done in a very long time.
Well,
so,
in 2 weeks,
we'll
not
know.
Next podcast, but the podcast after, I'll be done. I'll let you know. And this is a game that I've been talking about for years.
Oh yeah.
Years.
Oh, you got some expectations on this bad boy. So I mean, if this pays off, what are the odds the one game that you actually sit around waiting for turns out to be good?
I'm ready.
It's fantastic.
You know why? Because I got good taste, Adam. I got good taste.
It's true, obviously. Where is it below this? For a bit of positive news for Microsoft at the very least, is that, you know, in case people had wondered if arcade racers were still niche or if they'd broken out into the mainstream, well, we did get also some numbers in the midst of all these other numbers that were coming out that the player base, meaning the number of unique people who have played for any significant amount of time Forza Horizon 5, that's the more arcadey one, not the new one that just came out, but the more arcadey one, that hit 34 million unique players here this week. With the, that average, the number of active is going to be, obviously not 34 million. They're probably in the couple of million active currently right now. But they said basically they added each and every month since release, they've been adding at least 1 million new people that have played Forza Horizon 5 each and every month. And so that, like I said this before, there's a really good shot that Horizon ends up overtaking the main Forza as the predominant one. And I think with the release of the last Forza game that just came out here, not doing really great, this is probably another indication that Turn 10, as good as they have been, they're falling behind, and Playground is just cranking out fucking bangers over and over again. So we'll see what comes out of that. But right now, Playground, not to forget, working on Fable of all fucking games coming up next for them. So. Now, I don't know how many of the whole team is working on that. I'm sure they're still going to be wanting to make another Forza Horizon game, but nevertheless, that's something else to look forward to from that developer. And other than that, also another banger for a video game this week. Spider-Man, we talked about how it did critically last week. This week, we got some numbers. It is now the fastest-selling PlayStation Studios game, having sold 2.5 million copies in the first 24 hours. Which is very impressive when you consider that this is a PS5 exclusive. It's not available on the PS4. It's only on PS5. And so, for studios, their studios, the fastest one ever, 2.5 million, first 24 hours, is big numbers. And Insomniac just continues to carry the fuck out of PlayStation. That's 3 Game of the Year contenders in 4 years. Home run after home run after home run out of those bad boys. So well done to Insomniac over there, and keep up all that phenomenal work. And then the last little piece of news before we move on is in relation to the PS5 Slim, which we talked about in previous couple podcasts. So we talked about the fact that on one of them, the digital edition has the ability to attach a disk drive to it if you choose to at a later date. There was some weird news that came out about it this week, whereby apparently in order to get that disk drive to work, when you first attach it and first install the firmware for it, it has to be connected to the internet in order to do so, which people thought were weird. They're like, why in the fuck do I need to have an internet connection to use a disk drive? That sounds really fucking weird. So just to clarify, it does appear that it's only for the first time installation of it. And after some digging, it appears it might have to do largely with some of the right to repair related U.S. legislation or law that's in place, specifically some of the stuff that rolled through in 2021, it seems to be to do with that. Unfortunately, in the U.S., as anyone that's in the tech industry would know, the U.S. specifically is really anti-right to repair. Which is why the right to repair is how do I say this? Is an umbrella term that covers all the various ways in which manufacturers selling devices can ensure that it is nearly impossible to repair a device and requires you to basically replace the entire thing. And this whole thing is big because of not just because it's cost prohibitive and anti-consumer, but also e-waste has become a bigger and bigger problem. And if you're just firing, I mean, we're already swapping phones every 2 years on average. You add in not even being able to repair shit, and it just gets fucking crazy. So there's a lot of law in the EU, much different over there. They're much more strict on manufacturers. They can't do nearly as much. But over the US, that seems to be a problem. And this whole thing in terms of like DMCA and some other related, stuff. That's why this happens. But the good news is it does appear to just be a one-time deal. So as long as you got that internet connection for 5 fucking seconds, you're good to go. People were concerned that it was like an always online functionality. It was like, I have to be online to watch a fucking movie or some shit, which would be dumb as fuck. That would be terrible, but that's not necessarily the case. And that's it. That's all the exciting news this week, Mr. Black, which means it's time to get excited about our sponsor and pitch it to the folks at home.
Patreon.com/LagTV. Head on over there. Throw some money at the screen if you like. Want to support us directly, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can grab NordVPN. Go ahead and get yourself a VPN subscriptiano. If you get a 2 years subscription, you get 4 extra months when you use the promo code OTT. Massive discount, plus those extra 4 months. And, of course, you can stay safe, stay anonymous on the internet. You can watch different regions of Netflix at the click of a button. You can use it on your smartphone, your smart TV, your laptop, your Mac. I mean, they've got it virtually for everything. They've even got a desktop app where you don't actually have to be on a server, but you can have threat protection running in the background of your PC to detect and remove malware. Protect you from malicious websites, pop-ups, those sort of things. It'll let you know when something is detected or something seems a little fishy. Which you can just run that in the background. It doesn't take any of your. It doesn't bog down your computer or anything like that. It just runs. I got my stuff running. So yeah, go check them out. What else is there? 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it for whatever reason, get your money back within 30 days. It's a great way to support us, the sponsor, and yourself, especially if you want to have anonymity when you're on the internet. And if you don't want people to see what you're doing, want to mask that IP, go ahead and do that. It's definitely big for your ISP provider. If you're downloading movies, those sort of things, might want to use a VPN. And if you are going to use a VPN, think about Nord. Of course, you want to download those movies legally. I'm not saying I would never illegally download anything.
No,
right?
No.
But if you're illegally downloading a movie, your ISP provider might not like the amount of bandwidth that you got going on that IP. Or you just might want to. Hey, maybe you're downloading some fetish prawn, and you don't want people to know it's coming from your location. You can do that. I'm not judging you. It's 2023. If you judge anybody in 2023, you're a bad person and you shall be canceled. So don't be judging, be accepting. And so head on over there and grab NordVPN and have that anonymity, guys. It's that simple. Promo code OTT. That's NordVPN.com/OTT.
Well done. Very well done. Now it's time for
tech support. No, movies and TV.
I'd almost forgotten about it, Mr. Black, but there is, in fact, a Fallout TV show being sponsored by one Amazon Prime, and it was announced 24 release date. It's going to come late April. I think it was the 23rd or 24th of April of 2024. We don't know a hell of a lot more beyond that, but you know what? There's an awful lot you can do with the Fallout TV show, and I'm very interested in what direction they take it. Are we going to get like super serious? Is it going to include a lot of the like levity
Definitely
and kind of
serious, man? Jack Black's like fucking playing the Trap or whatever. Fucking Kevin Hart's in it. He's playing a character. Fucking, I mean,
okay. So it's a comedy basically at that point.
Definitely gonna be comedy / I don't know.
Dramedy?
There ain't no way in fuck it's gonna be this super serious thing.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Fallout's at its best when it's being tongue-in-cheek and kind of over the top. Juan Carlos, thank you for that, by the way, that super chat. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
a great
Jamie
deal.
Lee Curtis. Who else is in there? Kevin Hart.
Oh, wait, no, you're confusing it with Borderlands, apparently.
Which one are we talking about?
Fallout.
Oh, that.
So I wouldn't know because I don't know who was cast for this either. I have no idea who's cast. Do we even know who's cast for Fallout?
Fallout show? I was thinking of Borderlands, bro.
Yeah, no, that's it. Now that you mentioned that.
I'm looking at it now.
I don't even know if they announced who's doing Fallout.
Almost all relative no names.
Okay.
So
we don't know. We can't gauge it at this point. It could very well be a little bit serious.
Yeah, the most well, there's a guy named Walton Goggins. He plays in some, he's got really good taste. Like his agent is on one. Okay. So he really only associates himself with like winners. And he's a pretty serious actor.
Okay.
So I would imagine it's probably going to be relatively serious.
The real question is Meth Damon involved?
No. I don't think so.
That's a shame.
Yeah. No.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, are you talking about the guy from Breaking Bad?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I knew exactly who you're talking about. He's actually Walton Goggins actually been in shows with him.
Oh, really? There you go. Yeah, Matt Damon's a fucking banger, bro. Like that dude's in the show, you know you're going to get somebody that you hate with the passion. That dude delivers. That dude delivers like characters you're supposed to hate. You call that dude up. Matt Damon, get on set.
Matt Damon. Juan Carlos, thank you very much for the 20 DKK.
Anyway, April. We'll see it happen. And then lastly, Netflix and now Apple TV Plus. Apple TV, having just announced this earlier, are getting price hikes. Looks like everyone, this is just my own notes, as it looks like everyone is about to be paying up to or more per month for their services than we did based on fucking cable. We're getting to that point. We got Netflix in Canada pushing $30 for the tier that doesn't have ads and shit in it and whatever the fuck. Then you got Amazon Prime, you got fucking Disney Plus and shit, whatever other, like there's like 20 friggin' services now. So depending on the breadth of your interest of shows, which really ultimately, decides how much legitimate viewing you're doing of most of this stuff. We are absolutely basically at cable television pricing for where we were before. It was all good when there's like 2-3 platforms, within reason. Now it's getting split into like a million.
I've just accepted it, right? Like my shit is I need my YouTube premium.
Yep.
That's number uno. That even goes above Disney Plus.
Oh, for sure.
Kai's gonna suffer before I get rid of my YouTube premium. I don't give a fuck. Netflix, Disney Plus, and I already have the Amazon, like, because I already am an Amazon Prime guy, so I don't really count that, even though I know it's part of it. But like, it is what it is, and I barely watch Amazon related stuff. It's very specific shows, so like maybe 3 times a year, I'm tuning in on that for specific series. And that's the show. So, at the end of the day, I'm probably spending about $100 a month in
somewhere in there
stuff, and that's okay because like I actually use the stuff on a regular basis, like especially Netflix and Disney Plus. It's in this house every single day. So
I'm only concerned about it if they start throwing ads back into tiers that didn't previously have ads. Like if they start retroactively slipping ads in.
That'd be a bad time.
Now we got a problem. Because I'm paying specifically for this content. The whole idea of the subscription service was so that you didn't have to run ads. So you're not going to bring ads back because, you know, you spent $100 million on fucking Knives Out?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Now we get a problem.
That's a problem. Yep. Jay Niski, thanks for the 20 euros, man. Appreciate the super chat.
I'm buying myself a Starbucks later after all this money rolling in.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've got one actually from the other day I haven't taken off my desk yet. Probably should have. It's the pretty much the only thing I get from there other than their turkey fucking pesto sandwich is this 7,000 calorie mocha cookie frap thing, which is basically Oreo crumb plus chocolate syrup and a mocha frap with whipped cream on top. So it's where
pretty good.
It's delicious. It's also, I just pretend that the calories don't exist. You know, just don't eat a meal. Skip a meal.
Just skip a meal and you're good.
Good to go. Calories in, calories out. That's how it's done. That's how, you know, David Goggins would say, calories in, calories out. Let's go. No, he wouldn't do that. He'd just run another 5 fucking miles.
Yeah, he's just calories out. That's just it.
There's no calories in. It's just pure calories out.
David, I've already burned 8,000 calories today. And he's like, fuck you, pussy. 8,000.
Stay hard.
You little bitch. Stay hard. Stay hard.
I fucking love David Goggins is the closest thing to a cartoon I think we possibly fucking have. Like, just as like
he's a meme, bro.
He's a parody of himself, and the craziest part about Goggins is that he believes everything that comes out of his mouth. Like,
you have to. If you're that crazy, you have to.
Yeah.
And the thing is like I've seen so many interviews of people that talk about David Goggins and like they know the guy and they're like, dude.
That's
it's not an act.
No, it's
the guy is crazy. Like, it's fucking
something
nuts.
Went off in his head at some point.
I remember watching. There was this super rich guy, and he was on Joe Rogan or one of these podcasts, and he said that he
he's the guy that he's lived with him for 3 weeks or something.
Lived with him for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, God, and they were taking like ice baths in the lake and shit, and the wife was like.
What? Yeah, the dude, he'd be like, bro, he'd knock on my door at 4:00 in the morning. My wife is looking at me, and he's like, yeah, we'd go for a 50-kilometer or a 50-mile run, and we go into the ice lake, and we just sit there, and then we get out and we go run again. He's like, dude, I was dead. He's crazy. He's fucking nuts. And you hear this shit all the time from every person
everyone
that I've ever heard. They're all like, he's nuts. He's crazy.
Oh, it's not an act.
No, it's not.
It's not an act.
You can't
He's
act
just
that.
No. Stay hard.
Stay hard.
He needs to come out with an alternative for Viagra so we can drop that bitch on the fucking tagline.
Oh, he would be. He's already rich, but like he would be fucking hella rich. Come up with his own dick pills called Stay Hard.
Stay hard, bro. You're welcome, David Goggins. If you're listening to this right now, no royalties required. Just give me a footnote in your memoir. Now it's time for Mr. Black.
Tech support.
Patreon.com/LagTV is the place to go if you want to financially support this bad boy and keep the wheels on moving. For $5 or more, you get a couple of perks, but you also, of course, at this point, get to ask us questions on a post I put up before the podcast called Tech Support. Now,
by the way.
Yes.
We have sent out all the merch.
Yes, it happened.
It happened.
So anyone that was eligible.
Price of $500 million, we did it.
Was it $800 in shipping?
No, it was like 700.
700.
Yeah, 730 or some shit. I don't even.
Disgusting. Shipping a tube in Canada, they have a new charge for tubes, for more money for just having a tube.
Yes. Kayla told me the girl at the post office was like cutting it up. She was like, it just happened. They're just gouging people.
Oh yeah.
It actually costs less to ship international into the States than it did for our own country.
Not only that, it's half as much. 50% less money to ship that into the States than it was to ship within Canada. So anyway, you guys are welcome. I know it took a really long time, but maybe now you can understand why it took as long as it did. Now, I opened it up to when I did this list, I said, all right, I got to make sure I don't miss anyone. So I went onto the Patreon's back end and I downloaded the CSV file of every single person that ever from 2018 through today hit that dollar mark, $100. Because it used to be you had to get into the tier for 1 month, the $100 tier for 1 month, and we'd send you out the stuff, and then you could back off the tier. Then we changed it eventually to over time, if you accrued 100, we would add you to the list. I went back and did that. I went through, and then I cross-referenced it with all the shipments we've done in the past. It was something like 450 names of people or whatever. We got all that shit knocked down, got all that list together. God bless Kayla for writing out the fucking names. And shit, man. I got her the information on Excel. I sent it to her.
Doing that shit, bro.
And then at the end of it, I think we might have even run out of some stuff at some point. So because we never meant to have that, that's why for example, the $100 tier was the way it was because we had so many pins made because they were very expensive to be made. And so I don't know. Kayla didn't tell me how many didn't quite make it. I just said fill it full of shit because we had a bunch of stuff. Just put everything in and go. But it's all out there now. Everyone, it's there. It's done. And that was the last of it, really, because
we ain't doing that again.
It's too expensive. One tube in Canada, $23.
Oh, we lost money, Adam, but that's okay.
$23 for a single tube, bro.
That's not even including the cost to buy the tube, the money, the
that's
time
just the
put
shipment.
into just.
And that's not with tracking. That's just zero. The raw dog basic bitch. It could arrive, it might not. For $23.
The longest possible route, and it was still redonk. So anyway, it's out there. It's coming.
Fuck me. Somebody in chat that gave, let me just scroll up here real quick. It was the first super chat from Edgar, who didn't get in on the tech support in time. Said, church update. Have you gone
I haven't been in a month.
I
messaged them there, so I
okay, you got the update then.
Yeah. I haven't been there in a month.
David asks, I don't know about Nova Scotia, but in Ontario, there are a ton of bots on Tinder with the same formatting for their descriptions and Snapchat username. I add them and it's either prostitutes or OnlyFans girls, never taken anyone up on their offer, I swear. What's the deal with that? I don't fucking know, bro.
I've never had Tinder on my phone in my life. I've missed this.
You missed
this era.
The wave. Honestly, I think you dodged a bullet on that one.
I definitely dodged STDs. I know that.
Yeah.
That's guaranteed.
Yeah. The answer is money. The only reason that you have a bot anywhere is because that bot is at scale with the other bots they send out is making money. That's it. If it wasn't making money, it wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't exist. Yeah.
So it's making money. How? Fuck me if I know. It's usually it's just promoting an OnlyFans account.
That's
right. Yeah. So for example, the biggest bot problem on Twitter right now, ironically, because Elon was like, if we make a $5 thing, then bots will go away because at that point it's too expensive for the botnets to do all their because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Anyway, the bots are a bunch of OnlyFans promotion pages that are created specifically to just like certain content, and then you see that the person liked your shit. And you're like, who the fuck is that? And then you click on it, and it's a profile with no tweets. It's just a header, tits and ass, and it's an OnlyFans link baked into the header. And that's what you're up against. It's money. It's money, and probably a lot of money.
Listen, if I had to give you some advice, stay strong, my king. Get the fuck off the apps.
At least do Bumble, because Bumble requires the women to interact with you first.
Okay, well, listen, man. You don't need this shit. Just fucking go out. Fucking, I don't know. Do something.
I think a lot of guys are afraid because so many girls now, when you approach them in public because these apps exist, they're like, I'm not here to get picked up. I need you to get the fuck away from me type energy. So you can't pick them up. Normally it would be like, what's your points of interest? Well, I like going to the gym. I like going to this restaurant or this bar or whatever. And now a lot of girls are getting very, very, don't come, don't, unless you're attractive.
At the end of the day,
then you're okay.
Exactly. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, whether they're out with their girls or they're out at the grocery store or whatever, and dick ain't on their mind.
Yeah.
If they fancy you, you're in.
Yeah.
If they don't fancy you, you're not in. I mean, dude, think about it, Adam. Say you're out at Sobeys and you're just grabbing a couple things. You're in and out. You're busy.
So I'm spending $900 at Sobeys right now.
You're spending $900 on 4 items, but you're going in. You got to do it. Fucking Christmas dinner's coming up. You told the family that you're gonna bring the turkey or whatever. I don't fucking know. You go in there and there's some girl that comes up, right? I'm assuming you're single. Girl comes up to you and she's like, these turkeys are getting some expensive, huh? This is a stupid small talk, and you're just sitting there and you're looking at the turkeys, and you're like, yeah, and you're not even paying no mind to her. You know, you're just like, yeah. You look at her and you're like, okay, you do a double take. You're like, oh. You do it, and then she's like, are you having a big dinner? Like, you got
There's more than just turkey breast in this discussion.
Yeah, and that small talk happens. Even if, Adam, you had no desire at all to go in there looking for some pussy, none. Mm-hmm. But then you did a double look, and she's over there, and she's looking fine.
Yeah,
and she's doing small talk. Suddenly, you're not as busy anymore, and suddenly you're open to a conversation. It's the same thing on the other side, except that a lot of women, I'm just going to go out and say it, women have a lot more choices than men do.
Well, because they're the ultimate choice decider, really.
Correct.
At the end of the day,
at the end of the day, you could be a pretty not so looking chick and you can pick up, because dudes, they just want to get off. They just want to have sex with you. And it doesn't matter. The caliber of man that you attract might be not desirable or what you're looking for, but whether you're attractive or you're not attractive, at the end of the day, you can get laid because you're a woman. And a man is a man, and you're going to find somebody for the most part, right? There's anomalies, but for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a dude and you're not an attractive guy, or you don't have money, or you're not very good at speaking, or you get nervous, or whatever the fucking thing is, you got to work infinitely harder to try and get laid. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. So if you're going out there and you're putting yourself out there and you're talking to a girl at the grocery store, at the bar, or whatever, and she pulls this shit, I ain't here to fucking pick up, blah, 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 this ain't a dating app, then hey, all you need to do is say, hey, my apologies, have yourself a wonderful night, and move on. Go to the next, and then go to the next, and go to the next. And eventually, you will find somebody that is interested in having a conversation. It doesn't necessarily have to be sex, but you have to have a conversation where you see where it goes. You don't need to be on these Tinder sites where all it is a glorified pickup spot. If that's what you want, hey, go for it. And I'm sure there's people on here right now that met their significant other on Tinder. And hey, you're the anomaly. You're the anomaly. Okay? I'm happy for you. But personally, me, if I'm going on Tinder, say I'm a single man, I'm going on Tinder, I ain't going on Tinder to find my wife. Do you know how many dudes have been all up in the DMs? Do you know how many dates she's probably been on? Nah, bro. I'm in there for one thing and one thing only. I'm there to hook up. And I'd be so honest in that profile. I'd be like that girl at the bar. I ain't here looking for no man. I'd be like, hey, I ain't here looking for no wife. I'm here to bust me a couple. Do you like a 36-year-old man, black dude, that plays way too many video games, that got time for you maybe once a week? If so, slide into my DMs. That's what would be my profile. I ain't trying to swipe. I wouldn't even be swiping. I'd just be on there and I'd just be replying if anything came in. Don't know. My kings, stay off these apps. They're traps. They're traps.
Most of them, literally.
They're straight up. They're traps. So the fact you're seeing prostitutes and all this other stuff on there, it don't surprise me none. When I was in Vegas there with some of my single boys, they were on Tinder in Vegas. They told me that the vast majority of people on Tinder were all prostitutes. Just all prostitutes.
Well, especially if you're in Vegas. Jesus, I mean, that's a guarantee.
Well, that's pretty much they use the app as a hook, like as the prostitution thing.
Oh, for sure.
It's crazy.
Of course.
That's just it.
Of course. It was funny. So our mutual friend of ours, so Smitty, before he met his current better half, which exciting news, they got themselves a home in the last week.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but I remember when he was just, trying to figure out, how he's doing his dating and stuff, and he was working all the time. He was literally never out of the fucking house. He was basically he was getting his electrician's ticket, and he was just working basically 12-hour days. He'd get home and just die in bed and then wake up and do it again. And so he did use the apps, but what he did was, it was no holds barred. He said he'd log in, no joke. He did it when he was at my house. He opened it, he swiped every fucking one. And you know what? Smitty's a fucking god. You know why? Because everyone that replied, he went out at least one time with every one of them. No matter what they looked like, whatever, if they had the same interests and shit. You go out, he said, the way I looked at it, worst case scenario, I talked to somebody, if it didn't work out, fine. I was going out for dinner. It was like my night out, I get to talk to somebody new. If nothing happens, who fucking cares? It was like a thing that it's whatever, and I got to meet somebody. And so he wasn't being like, looking through, being like hyper specific about the shit. He just went,
swipe, everything. Swipe no more.
And then turn off his phone, wake up the next day, oh, fuck, all right. And then we did go for like one time, and that was the show. So like, no, don't be that crazy. That shit, that Brian's out there.
That can get expensive too. Yeah, take a lot of girls out for dates.
Especially now. But
yeah, that'd get hella expensive.
But I mean, it's true. And of course, everyone knows, Em and I met on Bumble, and so there is, a thing. But Tinder was like, I was on Tinder for about 5 days, and then I was like, there's no, it's kind of like, the way that I would equate it is that the different apps fill different roles, right? So it's kind of like the old dating scene. So Tinder is the equivalent of picking up your girl at the club.
Yeah.
You're going to the club, you're looking for a wife at the club, you might be looking in the wrong place. It's not...
You can get lucky, but...
You can, but it's... Again, the same questions rolling through your mind. How many men this has been in the last, 14 days? Where are we at right now? How bad is this? Et cetera, et cetera. You got a lot of the same questions as you would if you were on Tinder. And then, they have something like Bumble at the time where that's closer to like you meeting her at a coffee shop, and you could approach her, and she's got to acknowledge your fucking existence before you ever even, and you're in a much more quiet. This is not the club where you can sneak up and start yelling in somebody's ear and doing some shit.
You're in a speakeasy.
You can't get away with the club shit.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. And so the different apps fill different niches. Now, all of them have thirst traps, because that's just how fucking everything is. But they all fill different fucking roles. And for some people, I think the problem is, especially for younger people that just went through the pandemic, nobody could go fucking anywhere. It was the only way they could date was through the apps, right? And now they're coming out, and that's all they fucking know. Or maybe they're working a lot because money is fucking tight, and they don't have a lot of time to go out and freely be out and doing the shit. Like when we were younger, you and I, you could afford to, not even just financially, but time-wise, spend a fair amount of time downtown at a bar, at a club, at a coffee shop, etc., like Mom and Dad met at the middle deck, right? And not just the one time, because the first time she rejected him. Second time when he he got the waiter to go buy flowers and bring her the flowers. Second time it worked. But that was like, yeah, Danny boy. But that was when everyone would get off work, and Mom and her workmates would go, to the middle deck once or twice a week, and Dad, same thing. Some of the boys after work going whatever. But you don't, a lot of people are working so much and they don't have that, or the things that they do for entertainment, that's not it. Or it's too expensive. Imagine going to the middle deck twice a week right now in Halifax, it's still there. And the craziest thing is an upper deck. And as you can expect, it gets more expensive the further up the fucking stack you go. But you can't do that anymore. So there's a lot of problems. So definitely Tinder, hard pass. And just in general, if you're using the apps, be mindful. But I appreciate why some people lean on them, because it's different now than it was. And a lot of guys do get a little bit timid, especially in public places, because online, what do you see? Even though it's not normal, you still, when you're online, what you see is like a dude getting fucking stripped to death publicly for trying to just like say hi to somebody or some shit.
Talk to a girl, and then she just
and then she puts it on. She puts it. She's like, "This guy's been following me around and everything."
Oh yeah. I'm in the gym right now, like coach getting a workout, and I'm wearing the skimpiest pair of shorts, and it's rode up my fucking ass and my pussy. And this guy right here fucking looked at me. Look at him, perv.
Meanwhile, they've got a tripod with a ring light in a fucking public gym. And their shorts are literally all the way up their fucking ass. And they're doing like they're doing mule kicks like out in the middle of the room, and then like there's a mirror in like a gym that's like the whole fucking wall. Impossible not to catch a fucking glance of her grandchildren as she's fucking doing these mule kicks. And then somebody like sees it and she's like, "Oh my god, how could you possibly?" I mean, while recording for like the gram on the inside of her asshole, and you're like,
in what world do you go into a gym wearing nothing
and
seeking attention at the highest level in an area full of dudes working out, testosterone, fucking juiced heads, you name it in there, and you gonna blow a gasket because a guy took a look quickly, or maybe even looked at you for 10, 15 seconds, whatever the case may be, yet you have no problem posting that shit on the gram, looking for likes, while your little simp followers are in there stroking one off, and you're sitting there posting your OnlyFans, and you got a fucking problem? Are you upset because they ain't paying you? Is that what it is?
Because they ain't attractive enough.
Boom.
The difference between creepy and creepy and flirting,
boom,
is are you attractive?
Oh, nailed it. Nailed it. He wasn't lying. Speaking facts.
That's 90% of the time. Now, there's instances where like some like really attractive juiced up dude in a gym go over time and be creepy, and it's gonna push the line. But generally speaking, like the old office adage of like, talking to a girl at the office, if you're attractive, it's okay. If you're unattractive, that's a sexual harassment case. Go to HR.
There you go. There you go. And listen, there's obviously some creeps at the gym. All right.
Oh, for sure. Creeps. There's creeps everywhere.
Creeps everywhere. Yeah, but come on. Juan Carlos, thank you for the 50 DKK. He said, "Who is Captain Canuck?"
Ah, yes, the Captain Canuck. So Captain Canuck is actually a legitimate comic book character. It's not like necessarily under Marvel or whatnot per se, but if you go look up Captain Canuck, you'll find him. And I met the writer and original artist for Captain Canuck many, many years ago. I had used Captain Canuck as an avatar for years before. I didn't think it was a real thing either when I first found it. I just thought it was fan art of somebody that had done Captain Canuck, and then I found out it was a legitimate fucking comic, and I was like, Jesus, okay. And then I met him here when he came to HowlCon years ago, and we talked about it, whatever, and I had a big print that I had, like, printed to board and everything that I had hung up in my office back when Jeff and I, like the Farouche days, and brought that in. He signed that, and he gave me like an original fucking comic with his signature and all that shit too and whatnot. But yeah, it's a real character, and not one that you're gonna find in a Marvel movie, but it's a character that exists. This is an interesting follow-up, Mr. Black, and completely unintentional, but it happened. Steve Hopkins follows up with, is it cheating to follow Instagram models while you're in a monogamous relationship?
I don't think it's cheating, but I just think it's disrespectful. So,
especially following them is like, I don't, because there's a difference between like you're scrolling your Instagram and you see something come up and you're like, oh, okay, and then you keep going. There's a difference between that and following, and then you open your Instagram and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I follow one model, and that model I've worked with.
Yeah.
With stuff, and that's just that. And, she's not even one of those types of models.
Yeah.
So I don't like other women's Instagram stuff or anything like that. I don't follow that. And it's not that I don't appreciate the female body or I don't see attractive people on Instagram or whatever social media platform, but like, I'm not partaking in this. I have a wife that I've been with for fucking God knows how long now, 13, 14 years. I don't even know. I've lost count. And what good is there? Why am I partaking in this madness? It makes no sense. Listen, I'm sure Kayla sees attractive guys on the internet all the time. Do I want to see her commenting and liking and following other men? Why? So if I feel that passionate about it, why would I do it? I mean, I don't know. People, listen, there might be somebody like, oh, well, I just like her work and she's just a friend and it's not her fault she's gorgeous and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, listen, whatever works for you and your partner, whatever the case may be, go for it. But for me, I don't need that temptation in my life. I don't need to be seeing this stuff and getting excited over whatever. There's only one woman I want to look at. Just so happens that I have to see other women all the time on the internet. And yes, I do appreciate it. A good-looking woman when I'm scrolling through, but do I sit there and gawk at it? Do I sit there and fucking stroke one out and like their shit and fucking what? No. I don't slide into no DMs. I don't follow no nothing. It's just the way it is. That's my point of view. Is it extreme? Maybe.
I don't know. It's not extreme. It's not extreme at all. The only people listen, and it's relationship specific because some people will say that they don't care or whatever, and that's fine. That is whatever. I would say the majority of people, your average relationship, is not going to. They might not freak out about it necessarily, but they're probably not going to be comfortable with it because there is a difference between coming across somebody. It's kind of like watching a movie together and you see and there's, Chris Pine shows up and they're like, oh my God, Chris Pine. And then all you can do is sit there and go, yeah, of course, it's Chris Pine. He's a fucking good looking, what am I going to say? He's ugly? Yeah. Come on, it's Chris Pine. Right? So something like that. Now, mind you, guys out there, careful. If you do the same in the reverse, you're probably going to get fucking slapped. That being said, there's a difference between that and then you go on and you're following a bunch of just Instagram models, which their entire thing is to take a picture of them in a $78,000 kitchen with a picture of G Fuel in the background that's like just barely in focus so that it's technically an ad but not really an ad, while they're standing there in their fucking Lululemon and like doing fucking, again, it's the classic, like how many yoga positions can I be in and make sure that you're not technically seeing my labia. Like that, there's a lot of them, that's the thing. You do with that, you start following them, and you're like, oh, it's just, most people
it's like,
probably
why
not
are
going to
you
be happy.
Them?
Like, but what are you doing?
To see
why?
That shit. That's it.
Yes.
That can't feel good for your partner.
No. So just maybe don't.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. Is it cheating the same way that physical cheating is? No, but is it going to hurt the other person in similar, but maybe not to the same magnitude of ways? Probably.
Yeah, and who knows? There might be some relationships where they do consider that a form of cheating.
Oh, I'm positive there are. Positive.
So, depending on the comfort level of the individual, then that every relationship is different. But I think at the end of the day, we all are grounded. The majority of us are grounded in wanting to make sure that your partner is as comfortable as possible. And me liking 100 different women, and every time I open up Instagram, that there's just ass and titties all over the place. I'm not having conversations with them. We're not friends. I'm there because I'm sexually attracted to them, and that's it. So why would I ever do that behind my wife's back? I would be fucking livid if I found my wife doing that shit.
Yeah.
I would say it once. I would literally say it once. This ends now. Or we end. Because I'm not playing that game, bro. I work too hard. We have a family. This ain't a fucking game, bro. We said vows. If you want to play that game, then fine, go play that game. And I would expect her to do the exact same thing. It's respect. And if you're going to disrespect your partner on that level and you're okay with it, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit, in my honest opinion.
It's true. It really is a big difference. You start following them, then like Jeff said, the question is why. And if you can't answer that reasonably, now you found the problem.
Yeah.
That's it. And why else are you following an Instagram model? Like, what are you really like? You're not following because you like her fit.
No.
Let's be real.
Because it gets your dick hard. That's pretty much it.
Let's be
and
real.
You like looking at other women, which, you can make the argument, oh, well, do you watch porn? Does blah, 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 blah. Listen, at the end of the day, if you, for one, that's also another problem. So we won't even get into all that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to, since this is the question about following
Instagram models, don't do it, man. No. If you're single, go for it. I mean, fuck, who cares? There's no hurt if you're single. Go fucking nuts. You gotta go nuts. But the moment, it changes. Things change. Yeah. Be careful if you start dating somebody and they find out you follow a whole bunch of them. They're probably gonna look at you a little fucking weird. Just heads up.
Oh, 100%. You look like a simp.
Elio asks, Adam, have you seen Oppenheimer now? If so, what's your thoughts? No, I have not. Not yet. I will let you know when I see it, and we'll let you know my thoughts. Ace High, would you rather be a top-tier athlete whose career is cut short by an injury early or have a middling but long and respectable career? Well, I mean, the money is in the middling, but...
Say that one more time.
Would you rather be a top-tier athlete whose career is cut short by an injury early on or have a middling but long and respectable career instead?
I mean, it depends on how cut short you mean. I mean, if
it's game one, we got a problem.
Yeah, but, if for example you are a golf player and you're playing golf, and golf players can fucking play until they're 60 and play reasonably. Like some of them play very, very well, depending on the shape. So, say you start your pro career at age 22, and it gets cut short at age 32. Which is pretty fucking young for golf. I would imagine you start to kind of get in your prime in your mid 30s, or maybe late 20s into your 30s. You're probably still good. Then I'd probably pick that career as long as it was, you still get a solid, 10, 15 years out of it. Chances are you are into fitness of some sort, because it might not be golf, could be something else. You could transition. You could become a coach. You could open up your own whatever. I mean, you could be an influencer. You could work still in the industry, but not sort of on the front lines. But if you start your career at, say, 23 and it's over at 25, that's not really a career. I mean, it just all depends on how short it's cut. If that's the case, then I'm going with the middling job that is respected. But I've never been one to really give a fuck about what's respected. It's about what you enjoy, and if it can pay the bills and a little bit more so that you can, get a little ahead. But yeah, I guess that's my answer, because it's a bit of a trick question. It's not a trick question, but
it's tricky to answer.
It's tricky to answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I think of basketball players like Derrick Rose, who still plays now, but at a far less capacity than he did because of some horrific injuries, and one specifically that happened early on in his career when he was pegged as being on the trajectory for being like top 10 all-time basketball player type material. And so, somebody like him, I think I'd rather the middling one if I think about it longer, just because I think for me it'd be difficult. I respect Derrick Rose a lot because he's still playing now, but it would be really mentally difficult to know that your career was fucked on an injury where you were like the number one player in the league and projected to continue to basically be in that top 5 scenario for your entire career. And now you are an off the bench player in your 30s type situation. And that would be challenging mentally. I think just having the middling career that's respected, you get to do the thing that you love. Yeah, you're not the guy at the top of the food chain, but you're not the guy at the bottom of the food chain either. You're probably coming off the bench. You get to do what you love, and you get to get paid a good amount of money to do it for a really long time. I think that's probably they call that the journeyman, like the perpetual journeyman. You're the guy that comes off the bench in basketball. You get 10 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. You do that for your entire career. And that's the kind of player that can make or break a game. That's, a 5-point differential. That's the guy that, contributes to a win. You're not the guy that goes out and shoots 48 points in a fucking night, and then that's what everyone's talking about is, holy shit, Joker went 50 points, fucking 36 rebounds, and 17 assists. It's like, oh, it's incredible. But you're also a contributor, and I think at that point, I would rather do that than have all of the talent up front and then have it all be fucking shattered and have to deal with the mental fucking aftermath of that would be really difficult for me, I think. So I'd probably go that route. Jubinator asks, if you had to pick one trade for a career, which would you pick and which would you never go with?
I would probably pick plumbing. Simply because I want to say it's like the highest paid trade.
It's up there.
It's really up there. Plumbers, there was actually, I watched a video there the other day about plumbers actually making more money than doctors if you open up your own company, you have, people working for you.
There is a threshold where you make a lot of money, yeah, for sure.
Yes. I would probably say plumbing, because it's not easy work by any means, but at the same time, it's there's always going to be a job there. Plumbing is one of those things that people still need even after a house is built. So, for example, if you're like a framer or something, that typically is you're only getting work when something is being built. With plumbing, there's always an issue, right? You can have plumbing issue with your dishwasher, your washer, your dryer, your faucets, toilets, garden hoses. I mean, wells. I mean, you fucking name it. There's going to be work. So, and you can charge an arm and a leg. So if you get really good at it, that's probably where I'd go. I'd probably say plumbing.
Is there one that you would never want to do?
Never roofing.
Cold. We're on the same page with roofing. It's either too cold
height.
Or too hot.
Yeah, hot, cold, height, fucking just doesn't.
You're bent over all day.
Bad time.
It's bad time.
Bad time.
For me, it would be roofing. I would have also said plumbing I would never want to do, just because I've done enough plumbing with my father at this point to know that even when you're working in a place that's been well taken care of, it's still fucking awful work. Like, it's full of a pain in the ass, and it's dirty as shit and fucking terrible, and you work in a lot of cramped, tight spaces a lot of the time, and a lot can go wrong with a lot can go wrong with plumbing. So probably you make a lot of money, but that's why, right? It's a dirty job. It's a high skill job to do well. There's a lot of terrible fucking plumbers.
There's a lot of bad plumbers.
Oh my god! But yeah, it's just it's probably one of the easiest on your body from the perspective of all the trades. If you're looking for longevity, plumbing is not the worst. It's probably a little bit below middle of the pack. And that's how I look at trades. If I was doing a trade for my whole life, I'm averaging out money I'm earning for what it's doing to my body. Because I've got a bunch of friends who were in trades that hit 30 and they were like the body of a 60-year-old, right? Yeah. Framers, for example, just hands fucked. You're driving 3-inch fucking nails all day. Doesn't matter how good your technique is.
No,
you're getting fucked up. But yeah, roofing is one I would definitely never do. I would say if I was picking one though, I'd probably go with HVAC. I think honestly. It's another one where it's frequent for houses to require maintenance work or retrofits, things of that nature. They make usually you do HVAC and refrigeration in as a combined thing at a company. A lot of the time, whether you're doing heat pumps, ductless or ducted heat pumps, things of that nature in with the HVAC systems, and just guys that specialize in refrigeration make a fucking bucket of money. And so, and again, from a longevity perspective, nothing that you do in that is particularly crippling on the body. It's relatively, most of the stuff you're working with is light, and you're not doing a lot of heavy framing and stuff. So I'd probably do that. I'd probably do HVAC or refrigeration and avoid roofing or framing like the fucking plague, or maybe plumbing to a degree, but definitely roofing and framing, just because your body is fucked. You can't. You're like there. If you found a framer that's in his 60s, it's rare, very fucking rare. Same with flooring, because like you get flooring guys, they get to about 45, 50, and from picking up packets of fucking flooring all day, and being bent over doing flooring work, they're fucked. So yeah, you got to be careful with what route you take for sure. Let's see. Big H, I can give you this answer. I know the question was, I can answer for both of us. Said, what your thoughts are, both of our thoughts are on the latest Star Trek stuff, like Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and Prodigy.
I don't watch any of it.
Haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen any of it either, and I'm the bigger Star Trek fan of the two of us. I, don't have access to these, mostly because of the platforms they're putting them on, straight up. They're relegating Star Trek shows a lot of the time to platforms that I just do not fucking have, and have no interest in having. I would say none of them except for Prodigy, and Prodigy only, even though it's not my demographic, it's typically for, technically for younger kids, but it's got fucking Kate Mulgrew in it, Captain Janeway, and so because Voyager was my favorite, obviously I would probably have at least checked that out, and I heard it's quite good. I think it got renewed and picked up by another TV station, but otherwise, yeah, I don't have much to say about that. Star Trek is one of those things where I feel like it's still in this really weird spot. Like, it had such huge cultural, like, impact and influence for, like, my God, 30 years straight. And then it just feels like they could not keep the train moving, and they still haven't gotten back. The closest we had were the movies. The more recent trilogy that they did with Chris Pine and crew. They were really good. They did a great job of combining, like, the old look aesthetic and traditional Star Trek, tongue-in-cheek humor, but also like the political side of Star Trek. And that's probably the closest we ever got. I don't know if any of the shows have really done it. Even Picard and stuff is kind of talked about in a wishy-washy way, but it's hard to talk bad about Patrick Stewart. Nobody wants to talk bad about Patrick Stewart. So, I haven't seen them, so I can't really comment too much on about them other than to say I would like Star Trek to be doing better than they're doing now. They're kind of relegated to like the back corners of fucking cable television and other platforms that nobody fucking cares about. And so, yeah, unfortunate. Let's see, we can get a couple more in here before we do some StarCraft. I have to take him to work today, so I don't have as much spare time on the back end. Volkus asks, what's a project you remember feeling proud of at accomplishing? Finishing a project. What was one that stands out to you?
My the triplex that I bought a couple years ago. When I
that was a biggie.
Bought that and gutted the whole thing and was the GC for the entire thing, and I was confident going in, but like it was still the unknown. It was like, man,
well, it's a lot of unknowns. It's your first time doing something like that.
First time, yeah, it was the first time. I had done tons of research. I was like really confident I could execute, but like at the same time, it was stressful. But it was very rewarding, and I learned a lot of lessons. Made some mistakes for sure, but yeah, I was super proud when that was all done, and I had had the 3 leases signed and did the refinance with the bank. I was pretty fucking happy. So I'd say that's definitely the thing I think I've been most proud of in terms of like accomplishment.
I'm gonna say a similar thing,
outside of having a kid, like if
yes, of course.
I mean, like,
but kid's not a project per se, at least.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's not a project. Yeah.
I'm gonna say this house. So it's a house, all the same. But I'm gonna say this house. Took a year off, tanked my streaming career to do it, but took a year off, and Dad and I working together to gut and do this entire house basically by ourselves, except for the tile in the entryway and bathroom and the backsplash. We did everything. And that was a lot of work, a long time, and learn a lot. How much I'll remember for the next time I need to use it, God only fucking knows. But learn a lot in the time, and more importantly, get to spend so much time with my dad, which was probably the biggest benefit of all of it. But I mean, it's hard not to be. I work here every day, but I take him to work, and I come home, and I walk into the house. I look up the stairs and I see the island with the custom fucking wood work that Dad and I did and all this extra shit, and then I'd be like, okay, I did I did this. And that's a good feeling. It's a different. It makes me appreciate the property more than having just gone out and buy it and move in.
That's right.
And it's bespoke, and somebody's already been made on all the shit. You know, it's all stuff that we did.
That's sweat equity, man. You put it in there.
Makes a difference. So I would say that for sure. Related to this in some weird way, Marky Mark asks, whenever you guys talk about the business world, you seem pretty knowledgeable. What is the biggest misconception people have about the business world?
The biggest misconception about the business world? That it's easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I think that's a misconception for a lot of things, that people just like look at something from the outside and go, oh, it doesn't look as hard as it, you know, with the exception of brain surgery and rocket science. I think everyone's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look that hard, but it is true. There are many functions of business that people will look at and think
I think the number one thing is people highly underestimate the amount of time that you have to dedicate to running a business. And anybody can run a business, right? Like, but to run a business good and have longevity in a business, that's a whole nother ball game. I mean, fucking anybody that has a pulse and like $1,000 can register a company and fucking say, hey, this is a thing now. But to actually have it be successful, a lot of the times people think, oh, I'm just going to become an entrepreneur. I'm just going to open up this. I'm going to do this little thing or whatever. And hey, great that you're ambitious, but like you got to really ask yourself to your core, like, am I cut out for this? Am I really cut out for this? Because this ain't, if you're the type of person that wants to whine and complain about having to put in 40 hours at your 9 to 5, I mean, 40 hours running your own business seems like something like that's a very light week if you really want to have a business that has longevity. Now, there's going to be a long period of time where you are doing 70, 80, 90 hour weeks to hopefully one day get to the point where you don't have to trade your time for dollars and your business runs itself and you just kind of watch over it and step in key moments when you need to. But to get to that stage takes many years for most people, and most people don't ever even get to go there. A lot of times when you see mom and pop shops, like if you're driving around, you go to a bakery or you go to a cafe or you go to a hair salon or you go to a whatever, and they're mom and pop owned, chances are mom or pop is behind the counter. Is a full-time job, like 90% of the time.
And then they go home and do all the admin shit at the end of the day, and it's like a 16, 18-hour day.
There you go. And that's the cold, hard truth about it. You don't, people want to complain about, and they have every right to complain about wages and, I make $1, but I only receive 10 cents of it. My boss gets the 90 cents. This ain't fair. Well, what you don't see is, how did your boss get there? How much is the lease for the building that you work in? How much are the supplies and maintenance and all that? The people that are stealing from your boss, the stress, the debt, the loans, the leverage, the risk. People don't see any of that. And the cold hard truth is, if you want to make it in business, you have to, it's a lifestyle. Many people are out there, I got to lose some weight. I got to do this. You got to change your lifestyle. Diets are diets. They only work temporarily. It's a Band-Aid to a bigger problem. Inevitably, your diet will end. You'll eat your carbs and you'll get fat again. But the thing is if you don't want to get fat, again, you have to stay consistent. It's a lifestyle change. You have to watch what you eat. You have to hit the gym. As Adam said earlier, calories in, calories out. It's the same thing in business. You want the business to succeed, you gotta fucking put in the work. People are gonna call in sick. People don't want to do this, don't want to do that. You gotta deal with all this shit. And I think that's a big misconception. People underestimate the amount of time
and effort it takes to run a successful business. And I think if you're willing to put in the work, the reward is there and it's amazing. But you got to be cut from a specific type of cloth to make that shit work. Not everybody's cut from that cloth. Some people need to be told, be at work at 9 a.m., you're off at 4. Your break's at noon, you get a 15-minute break at 2. That's the show, Monday through Friday, be there. Whatever you want to do on your free time, you do on your free time. A lot of people, and the vast majority of the population, they need to be that way. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I almost get jealous of it sometimes. But the cold hard truth is, because of that, depending on your job, you have a limit. There's a ceiling. And if you want to break through the ceiling, you got to change the whole fucking, you got to become a roofer.
Well, it's why like, to use the gaming industry as an example, because we talked about it before, it's why you'll see a lot of senior developers and whatnot in development houses eventually break off and open their own development house.
Yep.
It's because they've already peaked in where they can be in the current field, what they're doing or what place they're at, and the only way for them to either get some autonomy back because they feel like they're being creatively stifled at their current job, or to open up the possibility of a higher ceiling. You're going to take a massive pay cut up front, but then they open up the possibility to earn more money in a window in the future. They will go and open up their own studio and try to like set out and do their own thing. And like anything, many of them are not successful at that. Some are successful, but many are not. And that's just, it's the same in business. It is challenging. It is. Sometimes it does look easier than it is. Especially, I think that applies the most to people that are in like that bracket that's just above the mom and pop. So like they'll see somebody that's just above the mom and pop level where they now have a store manager that they're paying or whatnot, right? And then the mom and pop is now more or less in a bordering on retirement situation where they're only really putting in 30 hours a week to be able to maintain everything where it's at. They're not aiming to be a multi-billion-dollar company. They're just at this level. They're making a couple $1 million a year, and that's it. And so a lot of people can easily look at that one, not see all the work it took to get there, like you were saying, and then but then some people will also look at, at let's say the Fortune 500 or whatever level where CEOs are treated like fucking professional athletes, where they weren't there, they weren't at the beginning of the company, they weren't there putting the sweat equity in. They knew a guy who knew a guy, and they knew that the board was about to boot the current CEO, and so they called up the other guy and said, "Hey, you want to come over here and CEO yourself over here?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And then you end up, with a new CEO making $50 million a year in compensation. And I think a lot of people will look at that also with some scrutiny. As well, which there is fairness to that. It is difficult to look at CEO compensation charts in the last 40 years and then everyone else and go, how do you even explain, how do you even? And you can't. That's not to say the job isn't difficult. The conversation there it's not about the difficulty of the job. Is the compensation for the job getting a little out of control? And in a lot of cases,
yes.
Yes, that is, absolutely. I don't even think the guys in the position could, well, they would because they're psychopathic, but they're not going to be like, yeah, you know what, I'm getting paid too much money, I'll take a pay cut. Unless you're over at Nintendo where Miyamoto took a pay cut that year when Nintendo didn't do well with the Wii U. He said, until we get this shit turned around, he gave himself like a massive 50% fucking pay cut on his yearly. Said, I won't take any money until we get the ship turned around. And sometimes you will get CEOs like that. There's about 3 of them on the planet.
Yeah,
but they exist.
But hey, some people just love their work. They have enough money. They're taken care of. I mean, the majority of them CEOs in those positions already are worth millions, maybe even tens of millions of dollars. So, for them to take a little cut there to make sure that the baby that they're in charge of can thrive a little bit more in the meantime, then they'll make that sacrifice, right? It's like dude, if I lost everything tomorrow and, you know, I don't think about me. I think of how am I going to take care of my family? And if that means I got to go without food so they can eat, I do that. It's the same thing with a CEO. Sometimes you got to take those hits to make sure that your baby continues to live. It's the way it is. You go down. It's like a sailor. You're the last man off the boat. That shit sinks. You're dying with it.
I should know this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I should know this. I literally have the guy's book around here somewhere, but it was Iwata, not Miyamoto. I'm getting my Nintendo guys mixed up. I'm getting chastised for it in chat. I apologize. I actually have. Where is? I swear
We know
to
what
God.
you meant, Adam. We know what you meant. The universe doesn't want good CEOs. There it is.
I have the goddamn guy's book on my in my room right now. Yeah, so anyway, okay, so we got enough time for this one more. And the two people, one wasn't even a question. One's a comment and one's a follow-up to it. Dr. Samurai said, a few episodes behind, I just wanted to say that I loved and agreed with your Taylor Swift rant. It was epic. And then the follow-up there from James said, after the rants last week about Queen Bee and Tay-Tay, let's hear who you think is the pinnacle 10 out of 10 from the celebrity world. And in the interest of gender equality, let's hear male and female. And while you're thinking, Mr. Black, I'll answer this last one because I don't think you really have an answer to this, but Matt Kiwi asks, what's the most anime game you've ever played? Hyperdimension Neptunia. I only got about fucking 10 hours in and I wanted to friggin' claw my eyes out with rusty spoons. But otherwise, we're answering about this. What's our celebrity 10, male and female? Since we talked, we were throwing numbers out for Tay-Tay and Queen Bee.
It's tough. This is tough. All right, I'm gonna go with. I'm stuck between two.
Oh.
Oh. All right, so for dudes, I mean, I don't really think of dudes that way. Because like you know, and I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I really don't give a fuck. The thing is when I see an attractive guy, I don't really scale him. They kind of all just kind of pool together. It's like, oh, that dude, you know what I mean? Like I could take a look at like a fucking like you said, a Chris Pine or a fucking, you know, Chris Hemsworth or a fucking Henry Cavill or whatnot, and they're just good looking guys. I don't have a preference, you know, like I can't really scale them. So, you know, I'll oh man, it's tough.
Man. Celebrity
right.
specifically, celebrity
go,
tens.
All right, celebrity. It's the name that comes up. It's I don't know. I find her very attractive. I'm gonna go with Alexandra Daddario.
Yeah, well, she's on my short list. Actually,
I think
yeah.
I think she's a 10. I don't really, you know, I'm a brunette guy. You know, she's just. I'll go Alexandra Daddario. And then dude, I'll go. Fuck it, man. I'm gonna go Michael B. Jordan.
That's a good pick.
That's a fucking good looking dude.
That is a good pick.
Yeah.
It's a very good pick. Yeah, I mean, Daddario's on my on a short list. My forever 10, and it is, she's, I think, celebrity status enough is oh my god.
You like what's her face? Crazy ass fucking
Adriana Lima.
Oh no, okay, not her. Yeah.
Who are you thinking of?
I was thinking you like what's her face there. She just had that scandal with the dude from One Direction.
Scandal from the dude One Direction.
Yeah, she was the director of the movie and fucking some shit went down. Now somebody in chat's gonna say. Fuck.
Who the
Somebody in
fuck
chat
is
will
that?
say it.
But yeah, Adriana Lima
Ish.
is my forever 10 as like if I was gonna say like a 10 that like everyone else was getting matched to, Adriana Lima, I would say. Daddario for movie theater currently in circulation is definitely in the short list. For that, and then. Yeah, I'm sure there's some others, but I'm terrible with names. I my name recall and everything.
Olivia Wilde, that's the girl I was talking about.
Olivia Wilde.
You like Olivia Wilde.
I really do. Yeah, Olivia Wilde. Olivia Wilde, I think is gorgeous for sure, no doubt. I don't know if I have her at a 10, but I think Olivia Wilde's up there for me. Probably Olivia Wilde's like a 8. But Daddario is a 10.
I just googled Daddario and it's
Daddario, and but my all-time forever is Adriana Lima, and that's never gonna fucking.
I mean, hey,
it's never gonna change.
I'm not gonna be mad at that pick.
No,
now you have to pick a dude, bro.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? Whose cheeks you clapping? Oh, he's
How are you supposed to argue about Henry Cavill? He's a genetic fucking freak.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Cavill's a good looking dude.
Like, Henry Cavill's like he pulled out of a 1950s comic book looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right?
I would be very uncomfortable with Henry Cavill hanging out with my wife.
Yeah, very
uncomfortable.
Very indeed. Yes.
Very.
Yeah.
I need to go. I'm just gonna run to the store and go grab. I gotta go grab some bread. Henry, you're coming with me. Actually, Henry, Michael B. Jordan. No, bro.
No, not happening.
No. You're not even allowed in my house.
No.
You're not even allowed in the house.
But I would say, yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with Henry Cavill. I mean, there's a lot of really like classic, good-looking dudes in Hollywood, but it's the ones everyone always knows about. You know, Brad Pitt is like will forever be considered one of the prettiest boys to have ever fucking graced the screen. Or like, I've mentioned him earlier, Chris Pine, done very well for himself. How do you forget to you can't mention good-looking dudes without talking about oh Jesus, this is my name recall is fucking just goddamn terrible. Hold on. George Clooney. How in the fuck are you supposed to talk about good-looking dudes without mentioning George Clooney? That dude arguably looks better the older he gets.
There are some guys that have been aging very, very well. Very, very well.
So,
but anyway, that's enough talking about dudes. Michael B. Jordan, though.
Chris Evans, another good pick, yeah, for sure. Most of the Chris's. Chris Evans, fucking Chris Hemsworth.
I don't know what's in the fucking water there for the Chris's, but the Chris's be out there doing their thing.
Chris's are the lottery for Chris is very good right now. They're looking pretty good. Jason Momoa.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good looking dude. I'm kind of I've saw Jason Momoa in person, and yeah, he's a good looking guy. The thing, if you're into that, he's got a
Jason is a type.
Yes, exactly.
He's not a classical good-looking dude.
Correct.
He's a type.
There's something like wild about him. There's something like he's got a bit of a bad boy / he's a literal island boy. He's not an island boy, but he's like an actual island boy, surfer, big brutish fuck. He's got the genetics. Yes. He's like the laid back. His personality is like matches with it perfectly. Like that's just the guy, right? Like that's him. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
he's not a pretty boy or anything. He's just he's got that rugged.
One of the worst beards to have ever bearded, but it doesn't. And he grows, and it's okay because he looks okay with the fact that like he's got so much confidence He's got 7 strands of hair on his face, and he grows them all out to be about a foot fucking long, and nobody questions it. So, like, clearly, he's got something going on, for sure. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're gonna end it, with thoughts of Jason Momoa's beard in our heads. We're gonna go and cast some StarCraft. Thank you very much for hanging out today. We will see you guys next week, and until then, stay safe out there. Have a good one, and peace.
Hey.